Hi guys, and welcome back here at Lanivendole podcast. I'm Stefania, if you didn't have the chance to meet me before. And it's been a while since I recorded my last episode, so I may be a bit rusted, sorry about this. But I took the occasion of a little happening that we are having this week in the shop, just to say a few words about an idea that Julia and myself had the last few weeks, and it regards, of course, here our YouTube channel. In fact, we just had the feeling that we were lacking a bit of contact with you, and perhaps that's due for the fact that we started again meeting people in person at shows, or even at Julia's farm when we just gather with the groups for the Knitting with Goats days and so on. So we just felt that Instagram was is just fine, of course, for the visual communication, for the photos and stories and so on, but it's just so quick and fluid, I would say, ephemeral maybe, that we just wanted to have a space where being in touch with you more in a more relaxed way, and also perhaps having the possibility to share more contents with you that way. So we will try to be more present here with all the features that we can get from YouTube, and not only for updates or color related episodes, but also sharing ideas, and it would be, of course, great if you wanted to make suggestions or ask for particular content that you would love to hear from us. And so let's see where it goes, but that's our intention for this year coming that has just started. Anyway, my intention was also to talk a little about the small flash pre-order that we are having in Aestiva this week. And that's because many of you asked about that base. Perhaps it's spring coming and the weather turning warmer, at least here in Italy it is a little. And but the problem is that we have a very low stock. It's almost nothing that we have in Julia's stock. So we thought that a pre-order had to be the only solution, just waiting for the new batch that we are producing right now, and that should be available for us to dye in April or May at the latest. Let's hope it won't be, but could be May. And we'll have some new shades to pop in the current collection that we are working on. So a little of the stock has to be used for these test batches. But anyway, we're just thinking that pre-order will give you the possibility to choose the shade that you want, and to dye it more focusedly. Okay, and thinking about this, I actually reckon that we didn't record any episode about Aestiva, and that's absolutely a shame. So I thought of showing you a bit of this lovely base, and a few hints more about what's coming this week. I was saying about a little Aestiva presentation, and I thought the nicest way is to let you see what we get from the mill, This is a bundle of 10 skeins that has to be washed before dyeing, and they are quite closed, as you see. The bounce is really reduced because the wool content has still some oil in it, and the linen, of course, has no bounce at all. And but I wanted to show you this, and I really wish you could smell it, because I love this smell of plant and wool together. But just to show you the sheen and the shade that comes to us. This is because when we started thinking of this yarn base, we searched for minimally processed linen fiber, and that was the trickiest part, of course, as we always do with all our bases. Always happen with our bases, but we managed to find in France, actually, a little production that could give us this linen that is not bleached and is not whitened and is just macerated on the ground. You know, perhaps that linen, like hemp, comes from the stems of the plant that are cut, of course, and then are left, traditionally are left in the small crooks or rivers, or even on the ground to get pulped, so that the outer coarse stems just get thinner and molder, and can be broken, so the inside pulp can be used to be processed and then spun finally. When you just put this in the water with some dish soap or so, just to remove the grease before dyeing, you will see the water turning brown, but that is fine. It's just the plant content that is still present in the fibers, and it doesn't affect the color that we dye with, because it's the gross part is removed by pre-washing the yarn, and then inside of course the dye bath, and after the dye bath we always this happens with all our bases, we always dye again and put some wool wash, Eucalan and so on, to remove the some excess dye and the last part of the grease. So it may happen that the yarn bleeds a little of this residual, but it doesn't affect the shade and the dye that is bound to the wool fibers. Of course, the linen fiber is not dyed in this yarn, because we use protein reactive dyes, so for wool, alpaca, mohair, silk, and all animal fibers. The vegetal fibers, as you may know, just need to be dyed with totally different pigments that we don't use. So, but that's the effect that we really wanted to have for Aestiva, just to see how the yarn would get just with a colorful wool and the natural linen with its off-white silver sheen. And so I have here on my desk a few skeins that I'm showing you, just to get to give you an idea, if you didn't need Aestiva, or if you haven't heard about it yet. The first one is Marzapane, that is actually the Undyed Shades, and you can see after washing how it gets lighter and of course even a bit whiter, though the wool content is not white, is a cream like all the majority of wool fiber, but that's the effect that you get. And it's quite blended, like all our yarns. Blends are passed several times in the combing stage, so the final blend material that is spun is quite coherent in the coloring and the fiber mixture. So starting with this natural, we just played with some shades. I don't have all here, I'm sorry, but just to give you a little sneak peek of the effect. You see that the dye is just in the woolen part of the yarn, and the linen just gives wonderful starry, I like to say, sheen, because that is more visible on darker shades, of course. And these are just a few. We have 13 hand-dyed shades plus Sapane now, but we'll be adding, as I was saying, some, I don't know when we come to the final choices, but it will be certainly 4, maybe 5 shades that we are working on. And it's funny because you may know that we have a few recipes that are changed among our bases, but with a little experience that we have, we just know if pigment 1 and pigment 2 are made together, put together, and in certain percentages would yield a certain color. And in this case it was a total surprise, because due to the fact that linen is not dyed, we had to put much more color to get the same shade that on the chic blend or on the pure and simple would be a pop, total shocking in the same quantity. Anyway, this week you will see us popping in on Instagram, and if I can manage, also in the newsletter, just to say that Aestiva will be in pre-order for, I would say, something like a week or so, depending on how the stock goes away fast. And you will see some new shades here as a preview, perhaps, but it will be a matter of a month or so. In the meantime, we will talk about something else. And if you have ideas, as I was saying, just write it down in the comments or drop us an email. As usual, we are always happy to be in touch with you. I was forgetting one last thing, because I know that you will ask for it, as it always happens in each episode that we record. It's correct, of course, that's the aim. The cardigan I'm wearing is the long love cardigan. I will type it in the episode description, of course. And it's not knitted in our yarn, because we don't only knit with our yarns. It's funny, because we were talking about this last weekend at Julia's farm with some friends, and they were quite surprised that we both happened to be knitting some unspun by Nutiden that we adore. We're a huge fan of that project, and it had just arrived from latest Patreon update that they had, and that we support happily. And sorry, I'm deviating. They just said, but you are not working with your yarn, both of you. Yes, of course, we are knitters and we love yarn, so it couldn't work if we had and were compelled to knit only with our own materials. Of course, we just try to choose, and or better, we tend to choose products that are quite similar or coherent with what we make, because we just make yarn with a sense that we search and luckily we find also in other companies and artisanal work. And this is Moherino. It's a lovely 50% mohair and 50% Spanish merino wool that is produced by the two guys at Roblodal de la Santa that we met, tracing back in the first Barcelona in 2018, if I remember. And so we were, of course, in touch and talking about breeding goats and so making yarn and so on. And this is just an amazing yarn. Give it a chance. It comes in very small batches because they do have a limited herd of mohair goats, but it's really worth it. It's amazing. I love it. And the pattern too is so comfortable, that kind of cardigan that you would wear all year round despite the warm weather. And for this season it's really a must for me. And I will show you just a little about the length and width, and really enjoyable. So you will see it all written down in the description. And thank you for staying here as usual, and welcome back for next time. And if you have questions, just do not hesitate.